Hey, Tim.
Hi, Shelby. How are you?
I'm good.
I feel like it's been a long time since we've had the band together again.
Do you play any instruments, Tim? Speaking of band.
I play the table saw, chop saw, planer, router, mostly woodworking instruments.
Well, that works out because I was a brass instrument player. So you can play the woodworking, I'll play the brass, and we can make some racket. I'm not going to say music. I'm going to go with racket.
So it's been a long time since we've gotten together, but that's okay because you've gotten together with many of our data partners and our users and advocates and interested parties around the region. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
We got to tag up with Michigan Tech. That was Hayden Henderson and Chris Pinau. They deploy platforms across 4 of the 5 Great Lakes. And then we went over to visit Rayon at the University of Windsor with Caitlin Johnson and Lydia Pollock. And they showed us around their lab and gave us a really in-depth tour of their G3 Slocum gliders.
What a great space those folks have over there, but they're also doing great things with some pretty great equipment.
Yeah, they have a really novel set of equipment in the way that they operate, and they're just great partners for us. And they provide very valuable data to the partners on their side of the border and on our side of the border.
Rayon's been a really good partner of GLOS, and Rayon also has GLOS's first nested Seagull, which you can check out at rayon-seagull.glos.org.
Thanks, yes. And then the last tour that we did with a data provider was actually with Heidelberg University's tributary loading program. They have a number of water quality testing sites around the northwestern Ohio area and southeastern Michigan. And we went down to see what their stations look like and how they operate and just understand more about that platform. So we got to meet a series of different providers, and that was really awesome set of interviews that we did. And then we pivoted to talking with some of our users about how they use Seagull and what that looks like. On the way up to the Lakebed 2030 conference, I stopped at Pentwater Sport Fishing Association and met with Dean Jessup and talked with him about how they use the data for fishing and fishing tournaments off of Pentwater and that side of Lake Michigan and the Great Lakes in the summer. And then we went over to Sleeping Bear Surf in Empire, Michigan, and met with Ella Scrocky to talk about how they use the data for their surf shop customers, but also they operate a buoy that they've lovingly named Looney. From both of these users and platform operators, they told us how their recreation communities utilize Seagull, and we heard about what great insights it offers to the angler and surfing communities and helping them maximize their enjoyment of time on the lakes.
You've had a great year and great interviews this past year on what it takes. We're all looking forward. I think our users are also looking forward to what's in store for 2025. And we'll reveal our schedule as we develop it early in the new year. So stay tuned to hear Shelby and others from GLOS interviewing people in and around the Great Lakes on what they're doing with observing technology and data and information. Now we're going to turn our attention to what's been going on in Seagull itself. I'm going to bring in Joe Smith, cyber infrastructure engineer at GLOS. Welcome, Joe. Give us a little bit of overview on what you do at GLOS, and then tell our viewers what's happened on Seagull this past year.
Sounds good. So my name is Joe Smith. I'm the cyber infrastructure engineer over here at GLOS. Mainly keep the wheels running and stuff like that, make sure that Seagull's up and running, and making sure, a lot of our older infrastructure, continues to be carefully decommissioned. But main focus is on Seagull and making sure that it's bringing in the observations and disseminating it to you, the users. This year has been really, really good. We've had 4.3 million page views this year, 3.9 million of which were in season, so May through October. And then we picked up 1,000 more free registered users. What has changed, and maybe a little bit of last year too, There's better caching for some of the latest observations, better management of user customized alerts. So if you're looking to monitor a particular platform for a particular parameter, you can do that rather easily. We have better plotting of certain parameters. We also improved the local caching of time series that users are interested in. So if you're looking at a platform on a regular basis, when you call up that platform, it's just going to pull up the latest observations that you have not downloaded before. And that turns out to be a little bit faster.
Joe, why do we do all this stuff? Was some of this from feedback that users gave us?
At the end of the day, between long-term feedback with users as well as instant feedback from users and, taking a close look at the system, we put heads together between ourselves and the developers that we work with to come up with better solutions in terms of how Seagull runs.
And what's the best way for users to provide feedback to GLOS?
If you look at the Seagull interface at seagull.glos.org and you look at the top bar there's like an orange bar that says provide feedback. Click on that and you'll be able to provide immediate feedback to us at GLOS.
And users can also send comments to us at support@glos.org as well. If you've identified something that needs improving or there's even a problem perhaps in the app, you can send us feedback that way. What else have we been up to, Joe?
This spring, we officially added omics data from the University of Michigan's omics team over there. We added a feature for the social sharing of plots and maps. So if you look at a map or if you look at a particular plot, you'll see the standard share button that you see in other websites. You can click on that, share the plot or map that you're looking at with your friends, whether that's through Facebook, LinkedIn, or some other platform that you're using. The other thing that we did for immediate access to platforms is we now allow users to type in the name of their platform that they're looking for. For instance, if you're a user of 45013's data, you can type in seagull.glos.org/45013, and that'll take you immediately to the platform's data page.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks, Joe. We look forward to continued analytics and metrics that you're tracking in the app, but also the new features and functions that we're continually adding to Seagull.
You bet. Thank you for having me on.
At the end of 2024, just in the fall, GLOS held a survey to get feedback from our users, and not just from the feedback bar inside Seagull. It took about 3 or 4 minutes for people to answer. We had over 900 responses. So if you're a viewer today and you were one of those people who responded, thank you very much. Here are some of the key takeaways. Most of our users are very happy. We had a net promoter score of 4.5 out of 5 or better, both on desktop and mobile. We also learned that nearly 70% of our users access Seagull where? On their handheld devices.
Well, Tim, I don't think we learned that. I think we always suspected it, but we confirmed it, right?
We do have some metrics. Joe tracks these metrics on a regular basis. So he kept telling us most of our users are on mobile, but we really didn't know for sure. Now, we also found out that there's something in software land called churn. Churn means people who come to your app or your product, they use it a little bit, and then they bail. So we actually had 40% of our users, almost half of our users, use Seagull on a daily basis. 45% use Seagull on a weekly basis. So that means that on any given week, we have 84% of our users who responded to the survey using Seagull on a regular basis. That's really high numbers in terms of products and software. So those are really encouraging for us. Now, before we shift gears to the next topic, I did want to ask you, Shelby, how many platforms do we have in the Great Lakes now that are sending data to GLOS? How many did we have maybe a few years ago? And then are you projecting an increase in some of those platforms in 2025?
So we have over 200 platforms that are connected to Seagull. In the last year, I would say, without looking, I would say we had 25 to 30 new platforms get registered. And that's a pretty good number if you consider what it takes to get a platform deployed and registered. It's not hard, just it takes time to do that. We do anticipate that growing in a steady way in the coming years.
And does it cost anything for a data provider to connect their data to GLOS?
No. All it takes is ability to fill out a spreadsheet for the metadata and to write some code that connects the data with our backend of Seagull API.
In 2025 and beyond, we're adding some new features and functionality that'll make it even easier for asset owners not only connect it to Seagull, but also maintain and update information about it. during the field season.
But we're hoping that people will adopt this and be able to make those small adjustments, like, hey, the buoy went in the water today, I can activate it, or hey, I recovered it. They'll be able to flag those things hopefully pretty easily.
All right, going to shift gears again to a new topic. Now, this topic is around bathymetry. And bathymetry is the study and the portrayal of underwater features on the bottom of the lakes. In March of 2024, we hired a new person, Mike Sutherland, as our marine geospatial analyst. And that's a fancy term of saying someone super smart and someone super technical who knows what to do with all that type of data. So, Mike, welcome to the show today.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Glad to show my face on the screen today.
Great. Well, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. I started at GLOS in the spring of this year. For the last 10, 12 years, I've worked primarily in the coastal and ocean mapping arena, doing various geospatial type activities, data processing, data analysis, some workflow development. So I've done a little bit of a lot of stuff, but it's mostly revolved around that ocean and coastal mapping, and now lake mapping.
Tell our users, is there a big difference between what you're doing with lake mapping as it was with ocean mapping?
It's fundamentally the same technologies, and there's a lot of issues or problems that are common to both ocean mapping as well as lake mapping. A lot of the sea floor or lake floor has not been mapped. Only 15% of the Great Lakes have been mapped using modern survey technologies, such as multi-beam echo sounders or bathymetric lidar. And so that's one thing that we're really engaging the community in and trying to coordinate efforts to map the Great Lakes lake floor to modern survey standards.
And one of the things that GLOS is doing as part of our commitment and our support behind Lakebed 2030 is this regional initiative that we're working with a number of other partners to advance high resolution mapping of the Great Lakes. One of the common misconceptions that people have is that it appears that the lakes have been mapped. But what have you been working on to help communicate what has been mapped and what hasn't been mapped?
Over the last few months, we've really been focusing our efforts in developing a new web application powered by Seagull to visually depict where modern survey data exists. Internally, we've been calling that the hex map. You see here, it's basically the extent of where modern survey data exists represented by these hexagons. And what's unique here is as you zoom in, the size of the hexagons changes such that we're really capturing the true extent of the survey. Hopefully this will inform additional future data collections and help with a prioritization of where our mapping efforts should occur.
You can really easily see that along the coastline, we've got a fair bit of coverage, and certainly in the areas where there's a lot of ship traffic, maybe in the Mackinac Straits, St. Mary's River, and the Canadian Hydrographic Service and NOAA's Office of Coast Survey survey those areas on a regular basis. But out in the middle of the lakes, clearly we have hardly any content whatsoever. So this is super interesting to help communicate where people could go, whether that's a research group or a small or a regional organization that has the opportunity to do some mapping on themselves. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about a program that we have called crowdsourced bathymetry?
So crowdsourced bathymetry is exactly what it sounds like. It is using vessels of opportunity, if you will, to collect data in areas where it is sparse or non-existent. Your commercial fishing guide who has a fish finder on his boat or a survey rescue operation. It's basically these missions that are not design mapping missions. Through a program with GLOS, they can collect these data and send the data through us and our partners to the International Hydrographic Organization's data center, and then they're available for subsequent usage.
We've been running this program for 3 or 4 years now, and we've collected over 30 million soundings. And we're always looking for new individuals to help us collect this data. There's a small cost because we have to get the data from the boat up into the cloud and then into Seagull. So let us know if you're interested in that. You can reach out to us at underwater@glos.org, and we can get you set up with a little data logger that connects with the fish finder maybe on your boat, and we can start collecting data and contributing to Lakebed 2030 and filling in those empty hexes. Well, thanks, Mike. We look forward to seeing this hex map in 2025 and making it more broadly available to users. So thanks for joining us on the program today. What are the new features that are coming on Seagull, and what are the two main grant vehicles that we received? Can you tell us a little bit about those?
So the big one that we're starting to work on already is called the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA. And then the second one is through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which will help us connect some new data sets for us and for hopefully all of our users to Seagull.
Right. So both of these grants are really going to help provide us the opportunity to support GLOS. Some of the new features that will be coming, a coastal safety app. So this is a mobile application that we've already started developing. This initial version of the mobile application will be focused on beach and coastal safety. As the app continues to develop, we'll be looking at pet safety, water quality safety, erosion impacts, and other things that impact coastal safety around the Great Lakes. You should be able to look for something not until 2026, unfortunately. We'll also be developing new pipelines. These are data pipelines, ways to get information into Seagull, not just into Seagull, but also out of Seagull. Also, we'll be looking at doing some Seagull redesign in 2025, things that make it a little bit easier to use, particularly on those low light days or days where it's super bright outside. All right. Well, we do appreciate everyone who's joined in to watch this and all of our other media that GLOS produces. And Shelby, we don't know the direction that our media live streams will go next year, but as technology continues to adapt and evolve, I think it's safe to say our communication methods and tools that we use will also continue to adapt and evolve.
Yeah, I think I can see us doing more on the road interviews and hopefully talking with people. I would love to be able to get some more types of data platforms highlighted, like what goes into deploying data, or how are people using the data or the information. I think those personal stories are what connect people, and it's what our goals are.
Wow, I'm always interested in figuring out how to reach more people so that we can grow not only our user base of viewers for this type of stuff, but really grow our users on Seagull. And part of that is just increased safety around the Great Lakes. If you're an informed recreator or visitor to the beach, then you're better armed and you can make better decisions around the Great Lakes. Send us information, your thoughts on what you'd like to see in a video series, maybe something that you've learned about or you read an article about that you'd like to learn more of, that Shelby or someone else from our team could go out and interview that group. We really look forward to hearing what you have to say for what we should be doing in 2025 and beyond as part of our Seagull Media video series. Until then, we'll see you on the water and in the app, and we wish you the best in 2025.
Thank you all. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.